Bird.
Here.
Again.
Here.
Stein.
Here.
Mormon.
Here.
Culpepper.
Here.
Williamson. Here. Ray.
Here. Okay, number 2, approval of agenda. Any changes, Your Honor? No changes this evening. Move to approve.
Second.
Call roll.
Again.
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Mormon.
Yes.
Culpepper.
Yes.
Williamson. Yes. Ray.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
Okay, number 3, presentation, petitions, and other communications. A, fiscal year 2021 audit. We have Kevin House here tonight.
Good evening. We recently completed the audit, and I just want to go through a little bit about what we do. So that most of the audits in the state of Iowa, except for the very large cities, the audit program is provided by the state auditor's office. They have certain things they want us to look at every year. Sometimes they emphasize more things than others, but it's really, really compliance based. You know, for example, they want to make sure that your budget's been complied with and all applicable payroll tax laws and everything else you complied with. So they have a large laundry list of things they want us to look at. And so we spend quite a bit of time going through those things. You know, so it's not just the finances that we look at, it's the compliance is a major part of it. We were really close this year to having to do an A-133 audit. That's if you received more than $750,000 of federal money, and it's really close. Fortunately for us, we didn't have to do that, didn't quite hit that mark. Because that adds another layer, that adds about 20% of time, just strictly in compliance of federal laws and rules we have to follow. So everything went really well. You know, Andrea's been here a few years now, and so she knows what she's doing, and we appreciate the help that she gives us. And so it's a good system. You always like to see things better, but you don't have the money to hire more staff to make it, just from an internal control standpoint. You know, you have a limited number of staff, and so you can't put in place all the controls that we would like, but you've got the cost benefit of that, and it's just not feasible. That's the way most cities suffer. So as long as the council and administrators are looking at things closely, you know, like you do every month, that's about as good as you get from a compliance standpoint, from a control standpoint. But otherwise, you know, and again, we rely heavily on the budgets, and we look closely at that, as well as compliance in all other areas, and it went really well, and there was no issues that we ran across. So, not much more than that.
I have a question. You said the only thing is just the oversight.
Yes.
When we have one person, and you said that's fairly common for districts our size. Do they have any way they address that?
Well, again, you have council might look at just the bank statements every month, you know, and you all look at the bills every month and what's paid every month. So, you know, as long as the council can look at those things, it helps tremendously.
Okay.
You have a question for Kevin? Okay, next up, Main Street, Iowa presentation, Mike Ham.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight. I am very excited to talk to all of you this evening about Main Street, Iowa. I'm particularly excited because I think it has a really great opportunity to make a huge impact on our community, and I'm hopeful to get y'all support in this. So I first want to start by talking about why Main Street would be a great fit for Boone. For those of you that aren't familiar with Main Street, we're going to talk about, I'll talk a little bit about that, but the why is really to focus on downtown. I know there's been concerted effort over the years from a number of different entities in our community, including this group and chamber as well, to try to make positive differences in revitalizing our downtown. And to make a very long, well, hopefully not too long presentation shorter, this I believe could be a real linchpin to turning our downtown back into a place that we're really proud of. Not that there aren't a lot of things to be proud of already. There really are a lot of there's a lot of great momentum already. And I think that this is a really great opportunity for us to build on that momentum. So why Main Street? Main Street is it's kind of out of order. We'll talk specifically about what the program does and what the pillars of that are. but it's a turnkey approach. As I said, there have been a lot of independent, sort of siloed and meaningful initiatives to revitalizing downtown. But this program is particularly strong in its ties, particularly with funding, in its approach, and its emphasis on small town, downtown revitalization. So the benefits, of course, are that it would attract downtown business, or attract additional businesses, attract residents, fosters community pride. As you know, the downtown of our community is a real source of pride and a symbol for the vitality of our community, and revitalizing that and getting the funding and the volunteers and groups that this particular program can help facilitate is really the power behind it. And then lastly, of course, it demonstrates public-private partnership. I think we can all relate to the tenant today and age. Sometimes there's a bit of doubt about whether public-private partnership works, and it does work. And this is an opportunity to demonstrate that it can work in our downtown as well. So that's a bit about why. You do have a handout there that kind of outlines a bit of the benefits of the program and some outlines of the approach. There's all sorts of resources online in Main Street, Iowa, and you can find a lot more detail than I'm going to go into today. But what Main Street is and that's the next slide, it's a national program. Main Street, Iowa is the designated facilitator of the Iowa program. It was established here by the Iowa legislature in 1985, and it's specifically preservation-based economic development. So as you can imagine, Boone with rich history is actually a wonderful, ripe community for this particular type of economic development and program. So I happen to think that we're going to have a really strong application should all of our stakeholders get behind it. So again, that's why I'm here today. It is a comprehensive strategy. Their emphasis there, as you can see by the image there, their 4 pillars are economic vitality, design, promotion, and organization. Again, circling back to the fact that we've all been working hard on this for a number of years, right? What this does is this provides a blueprint. This provides a framework to integrate all of that work together and get some of those silos to come together and focus. And so doing so, of course, is a challenge independent of some framework. So that's the strength of it. And the results, which is the next slide, are the proofs in the pudding, if you will. There's lots of great results all across the state of Iowa and across the nation. Of course, the initial great benefit for us is well, we're going to have a beautiful downtown. The numbers are also impressive. So if you look there, across the state of Iowa, since its inception, it's created more than 5,000 downtown businesses or business jobs, 5,000 downtown businesses, 14,000 additional jobs in downtown districts. It's also assisted with 13,000 building improvement projects and 2.1 billion in private investment in downtown districts. So just to reiterate that, to bring a little literally closer to home, Nevada is a great case study of this. Nevada was designated as a Main Street, Iowa community in 2019, and since then they've received $375,000 in grant funding. They have spurred 55,000 in city grant awards, which is similar to our BDIP program. They've gotten not only attracted dollars, but also garnered engagement from the community, which I know is something this group and ourselves are also really interested in promoting. And then it's also attracted 2.2 million in private investment in a downtown building in Nevada, Iowa. I think that that's a great demonstration of the power of this program and what we can do should we apply. The next slide is just a map of the communities in Iowa. There are over 50 Main Street communities now since 1985, so we'd not be alone. We'd be joining a number of communities who have taken up this opportunity to revitalize their although it's called Main Street, again, it's district-wide, so we would establish a revitalization district, not just Storage Street in our case. The next slide is an example of the types of building improvements, physical infrastructure improvement that can happen from the types of funding that can come in. Again, it's historic preservation based, so you can see that we would have a lot of properties in our community that could see this type of improvement. I would gather that this might not be all of your color scheme you might choose for your buildings, but certainly a great improvement to that historic building there. Again, this is another example of a smaller community than Iowa there in Woodbine. They've seen a lot of really great results. And again, this isn't just public dollars going to downtown. This is private investment. Folks are buying in themselves, getting involved in building that from the community up. So you can imagine this comes with some investments. And so the next slide, part of the application process is to be able to demonstrate that there is a public-private partnership that's active in the community and the willingness to commit both philosophically to the program, but also financially. And so a number of folks were able to join us on a Main Street, Iowa orientation call to learn a bit more about that. And these numbers that you're seeing here are based on the sort of size of community that Boone is. That is $30,000 is the sort of estimate of a community our size of the city investments that would be in this program. The application requires public investments. It also requires a demonstration that we have gained the private investment that it's going to take to get this program off the ground and make it successful. So a part of the application, of course, would be myself and our team, our stakeholders here, getting private support from our local businesses and stakeholders. So that, and I do want to be clear, part of the application and part of being granted being a Main Street designated community is you have to be able to demonstrate that for the first 3 years. So it's a $30,000 commitment for 3 years. And after that, our hope would be that we're successful enough, you're seeing your return on your investment, and that's why that plus sign is there. So hopefully you're going to see some return on that, both public and privately, and you'll continue your investment in the program. Briefly, the next steps for us, our letter of intent, that's simply just saying that we have, myself and our organization, the chamber, and the city are interested in applying. And so we would submit that letter on April 1, and then a lot of work begins to try to get the application together. I'm very confident we can get a strong application, and that needs to be in by May 27th. We find out summer at the end after that. So that's broadly what I wanted to present you today. I'm really, again, excited about this opportunity. I think it could be a really great opportunity for us to finally unlock some of the challenges that have been happening downtown.
I was just curious, if you talked to any of the downtown businesses about it?
Yeah.
The reason I asked is I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, because when we wanted to do the wellness center, the biggest thing was, well, no one talked to us and nobody, reached out to get our opinion. So I'm just curious if you.
Well, to be fair, I've only spoken to a few, but part of this process, in order to apply, that's part of the process, is getting that support, going out and advocating for this, getting support for the program, and making sure local stakeholders are behind it.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure that as we move forward, I don't have people under going, no one talked to us.
Sure.
And I don't want to invest any money, and you know what I mean?
Sure.
And may I ask who you spoke with downtown?
I've spoken, I don't know if they want me to share with you, but I've spoken to a few businesses on Story Street.
The actual owners of the buildings?
Yes. I've been having to speak to private.
They pledged support financially.
They are as supportive as this group is so far. They have not made a commitment, but so far.
Did you ask them if they would contribute funds?
I have not made a financial ask yet. I have asked them about their enthusiasm.
But you're asking us to commit $30,000 a year.
I'm currently asking this group to commit to a letter of intent that says that we're interested in applying. Upon that, we will determine, this
So
group will determine.
the letter of intent is only that we might apply.
The letter of intent is we will apply. And so then after that, part of the application process is then getting the numbers, that is both the city support and the local businesses, financial support and those commitments. So those decisions are made within the application process.
But
When we apply.
aren't we saying with the letter of intent that we
There is no-
will financially back this?
There is no financial commitment to the letter of intent. That is worked out within the application process.
I have a question. If we do an application, you said there's limited numbers that they accept, so it doesn't mean that we would even be accepted, correct? There's only
Correct.
several a year?
Correct. And Boone, to be clear, Boone has never applied. We've never applied for this program. The Main Street designations happen every other year, and 2 communities are selected every other year.
So even if we apply, does not mean that we would get selected.
Correct. Correct.
It would be,
And I like the program. I like the idea of helping the downtown. I want to make sure everybody's on board, so I don't have a bunch of people in there going, no, and you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because I'm tired of that, and I'm tired of, it's like we've got a sign out front that says, come get money, but then they don't want to participate.
well, I can say Jefferson is one of the communities that has been
Awesome.
involved in this, and if you go to see their downtown, it has made huge improvements in their environment and in the culture, and I know they are really strong proponents of it. I mean, they have seen great results. So,
Right.
and they're a smaller community than we are. What?
Having sat through the Main Street, Iowa seminar, there's a lot of work that you have to do, a bunch to do between now and when the application is due. But you have to get downtown buy-in, and that means everybody downtown has to have some sort of investment in this, because we have a business owner downtown that owns a lot of businesses down there that has had no interest whatsoever in beta programs. And that could be problematic with this application process.
We just simply need to get a number of local, we don't have to get everybody.
No,
Not everybody has to be signed up onto the application it doesn't have to be unanimous across stakeholders.
And, from an ED standpoint, I'll be glad to help you whatever way I can. But I'm just saying that,
It takes a commitment.
Yes, it does.
yeah, and that process, we sat in that seminar, they said that process starts usually 6 months in advance. And we're 2 months out.
Yeah.
But I can see
How do
certain
you have
businesses
enough
not
time?
participate. There's some nice businesses down that have done a lot of nice things to their buildings.
Well, yeah.
There's no need for them to participate. I think you'd agree with that. There's no.
No, I would, and this is actually common, this is really common, it's not, I wish it weren't the case, but it is common that it takes some time for folks to see that action in the community. And that was a lot of what the presentation was about, seeing some of the investment already happening, gets that support. You say, some of that, I think folks might not be able to see what their potential is.
You see my point? And I'm all for this. I'm gonna, you're gonna recommend we do this, but I want those people that's some skin in the game. This isn't a free ride. This isn't if you want to help yourself along with some help from the city and this grant, hey, this is your opportunity. It's not gonna be, you're not doing anything and we're doing it all. You're here to say no.
To answer your question, we do, I think Boone is actually very well positioned to, I'm gonna call it fast track our application, especially being that the program itself is historic preservation. And in talking to a colleague in the data who was part of that process, a real sort of integral part of the application is the strength of the historic district. And we have a very strong historic district, and we have a lot of great properties and enough, I think, to warrant getting that funding
So
on a quicker.
is it only the facade of the building that the money can be used on?
So the ins and outs of the program are, there are a number, what this does is that being a Main Street designated community allows you to, it sort of unlocks a number of different funding sources. And that's not specific to facades. It's really a sort of designation that allows you then to have a greater justification and stronger applications for a number of different funding sources.
Well, we're gonna know real quick, as you get into the application process, how much buy-in you have from downtown when you come back to present to us, right?
Absolutely.
And then we'll know whether or not you have enough buy-in downtown.
Are you voting?
To reach that $50,000. Reach that $50,000 threshold.
Exactly.
I mean, for us, it's a no-brainer if he could get that kind of buy-in.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, I do, so I just,
So
I'm just trying to make a point, I don't, just like the parking thing, I've heard nonstop, we've got parking issues, but we're about to fix that, so we're gonna enforce it like it should be enforced, and there's gonna probably be some upset people. And it's probably gonna be people that rent downtown that park in the same parking lot, leave their car, we're gonna enforce it, there won't be a parking issue. So you try to be, and then it just comes back, so we're gonna make sure that gets handled. But Dan, do you have anything to add on this? I know you've been through it.
Yeah, I think Mike's done a pretty good job of encapsulating what it is. A Main Street organization is also a mouthpiece on your behalf. Everywhere I've been, the city says, hey, we're investing money in your organization, in your Main Street program. We want you to be the spokesperson, not the spokesperson, but the messenger for the parking enforcement is going to start picking up, for example. That's one of the things we have contracted with the city of Ames with our Ames Main Street program is that when there's a parade and the street's going to be shut down, if anybody calls the city, they call us right away. The city calls them and says, what the heck? They were supposed to handle this.
Yeah.
Well, we did, but they didn't get the message. Well, if they didn't get the message, go knock on their door and tell them the street's going to be closed.
Yeah.
So there's obligation and responsibility in turn for the program. But what's unique about this program is it's not just about downtown facade improvements and beautification. As Mike mentioned, it's about stronger organization. It's about greater buy-in from the business people downtown. And without that, it wouldn't work anyway.
Right.
So it probably wouldn't get picked as the Main Street community. And secondly, you don't want to be selected if you don't have a broad sense of people saying, hey, let's make this better collectively on our behalf, because this is where we want to invest our money.
Yeah.
And so I think
And that's kind of why I asked if you talked to other, because if you got half of them, you go, no, I don't want to do anything.
And I think that's, once the letter of intent is submitted,
Yeah.
that's when the work really kicks in.
Okay.
And you get buy-in into some focus groups, some roundtables, whatever you want to call it, to bring people together and just give them the opportunity to have a conversation about what this could be. Because they will have to have some skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be local government or the state government. Many years ago, Main Street, Iowa put money into the programs for 3 years, along with the local community, local government and the business community. They took that away about 20 years ago. But nonetheless, it has to be a public-private partnership, and so, but we can't expect the city to put all the money in, and then nobody downtown wants to put a nickel in.
Right.
But in your opinion, if we had several landowners that had retail downtown that didn't want to go into it, would that be enough to prevent it from happening?
It could,
Okay.
it could.
So we really need to buy in.
But I think there are very few Main Street Iowa communities, except for some real small exceptions, like maybe like a Jefferson or Woodbine. You saw a picture that Mike had up there of Woodbine. The smallest of communities are usually pretty galvanized, right? I would tell you that Ames is not galvanized. Downtown Ames, there's a number of people that don't even think about Ames being a Main Street community. But there's enough of a core group there that supports the effort. The city supports it, private businesses support it, and it functions quite well. That program does a lot of events downtown on behalf of the city of Ames. That's what they contract for primarily. They also advocate for the facade improvement program, which is much like your VEDA program. And then they apply for a number of the state grants, the Catalyst grants and things like that on an annual basis.
One other question, what is the commitment for manpower? I mean, are we talking quite a few hours, hours city council, private citizens, what's the manpower that this would take?
First and foremost, it's incumbent upon the sponsoring nonprofit organization, in this case, the Chamber of Commerce, would have to have someone that's dedicated as a full-time executive director. Now, I will tell you that that,
We brought her here tonight.
I would tell you that in our case, we've had a full-time person who also did some event work, leads our Main Street program, and then has support from the rest of our team. And so while that person is executive director in name, even in names, that it's not an everyday full-time job. It's just not. What I'd like to say though is that every day she has to get up thinking about first thing she thinks about every day is how do I make downtown Ames better? And that's what this program does. I think it helps communities have someone, a point person, that every day that they wake up thinking, how do I make downtown Boone better today?
Well, I think sometimes it's the focus, there's so many projects to be dealt with that sometimes it's kind of good to,
Well, they talk a lot about volunteers.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that next. So Main Street Iowa is a very volunteer-driven program too. You saw those 4 pillars. They have committee chairs, they have committees, and I'm not a big committee guy. I really struggle with committees because I find that business people that volunteer are well-intentioned, but they've also got their own lives and their own businesses to deal with, and sometimes they don't show. And I joke, wink a little bit, but it's true. Sometimes I can't count on them, right? Because their own lives get in the way. And I understand that. That's why we've really built an infrastructure in our team to have people that do the work every day, which is kind of cheating, honestly, on the Main Street Iowa program, but it works for us in Ames. In Nevada, there's one person, and there's a good core group of volunteers that are all about it. And so it's incumbent upon the leader of that Main Street program, either it's the board chair of the organization or the staff person, to continue to cultivate leadership and cultivate enthusiasm for this program. And if there's results and things are moving forward, it's a lot easier to generate enthusiasm for someone else to raise their hand and say, I want to be a part of that. And that's the key to getting this thing off the ground. It really is. But it does take volunteers.
time commitment.
You need a decision tonight, right?
We would need approval of council authorizing the mayor to sign the letter of intent with the understanding of the financial commitment that it could be if it's accepted. That's the first part of this.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Steins,
Yes.
Mormon,
Yeah.
Hilheimer,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
again,
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, presentation of Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, Bill.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to talk to you tonight a little bit about the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance. This is a group that forms or is economic development districts within the state of Iowa. It's supported by the state. In central Iowa, where we are located, there is not an economic development district. It's in green on the screen. We're included in one of those maps. Some of the other cities are Polk, Story, Dallas, Jasper, Marion, Warren, and then the state of Iowa. Boone County is supportive of this program, but I do not believe they've chosen to contribute anything financially. So what's happened is this district here in Central Iowa, we missed out on money from the federal government because we don't have an organized district. Todd Ashby is the CEO of this. He sent a letter to the mayor, inviting the city of Boone. I've had several conversations with this program with Greg Picklet from Ames EDC. He has agreed that he will be our appointee on the board of directors, and having him there certainly will help direct funding this way. Right, Greg?
Correct.
These are the counties just mentioned, and attached there as well as a letter from the governor Reynolds supporting this. Again, there is not a district in central Iowa, so the benefits are relationship with federal agencies, access to disaster funds. This is why I like this. This is support for staff. If you remember when we went through Glacier 20 and then we dealt with FEMA, and we're still dealing with FEMA and still have not got our second FEMA. Correct?
Correct.
This will help staff, ease some of the burden on staff. They'll help us with this. We have those contacts and they can help us with those types of things. Grant writing, we do not have a grant writer on city staff, and then the administration of those grants. We have staff that write grants, but we don't have a specific grant writer. It'll help with that. It helps with the comprehensive economic development strategy. It just overall helps. We have taken steps in the last few years to improve our economic development in this community. This is just another step or a piece of that puzzle to help us with that. So dues for us is done per capita. It would start April 1st. The fee would be $22,336. That's for the first 15 months. This is money that I've allocated and have adjusted in my economic development budget that can pay it. So it would start April 1st. Here are some of the communities that belong to it. So you can see there's a lot. The counties are included in there as well. And then the structure of it, there's a board of directors, which I believe, Greg, you'd be part of that, correct?
Correct.
I don't need to read it, you can see it there.
It'd be foolish not to sign up.
And here's the thing for me that mainly sticks out on this thing is this top one right here. They'll employ a senior planner. We do not have a planner. As we continue our economic development, if we try to grow this community, planners come into play. I mean, that's what they do. They can assist us with that for economic development project, or if we have a housing area that we want to put in. And so what I'm speaking of there is, if you remember, we own 15 acres of land off of South Marion Street. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be meeting with Dylan from Ames EDC and some developers in Ames who he has pitched that is interested in looking at that 15 acre development, particularly since we're going to be paving it here in the next year. So that is one of the major things I think that this program desires, and I certainly think that we should consider joining it. And here's some of the other why we should join it. I've already covered some of those. And Todd Aspey right there is the CEO along, and Collins, who also works with us on the Des Moines NPO and Housing Trust, correct?
Correct.
Which is separate from this. The Housing Trust is separate. This is economic development. So we have what comes with it, excuse me, is, which is not on here, it's in the consent agenda, is a resolution approving it, joining the and the invoices and the bills for approval. If you all so desire to do that, I don't need to vote now because it's in the resolution, or I'm sorry, the consent agenda to be approved. But if you have any questions for me,
What has changed? Why did we not participate earlier and now are deciding to?
Never been contacted about it.
well, I don't think it's a district. This is the only centralized, the only area in the state that does not have this economic
And so
development district. So they're
It's-
forming it
It's
and they're
newly
asking,
created
yes,
kind of district,
and
okay,
they're asking us to be a part of it.
I get it.
Okay, unless you have questions, that's all I have on that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, D, public hearing for consideration of fiscal year 2020, written comments. Any public comments? Not, this public hearing is closed. Number 4, report to standing committees, policy administration, BJ.
No report yet.
Public safety, Stephen.
No report. And items for
We do for public safety.
on the meeting on the 30th, 4:30.
Utility committee, Stephen.
No report.
Economic development, Terry.
No report here.
Number 5, department reports, Golden District, Ed. Finance officer, Andrea.
Just start that I welcome any questions on the audit or the budget. The final full budget is out on the website. If you guys want to look at that. Okay, I'm available.
Thank you. City attorney, Jen.
No report.
Director of Public Works, John Ross.
No report.
Doing the operator, engineer.
Yeah, I do. So what we have in the council packet is a letter from SEH recommending a contract for the backwash blower project that's down at the water treatment facility. This is a project that we are doing with the ARPA money. The bids came in fairly decent, I think. We got 2 bids. Storage construction was 162,800, Woodland construction was 173,700. So, SEH has done the due diligence on all the bids and make sure everything's in order and issued a letter of recommendation to award a contract to Story Construction in the amount of $162,800 for this project, and that would need approval for that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mormon,
Yes.
Hilheimer,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
For that in addition. Yeah, for engineering, that's good.
Public safety, Chief Adams.
No report, Your Honor.
Chief Weevil.
Yes, Your Honor. I need to, as you know, we've been trying to hire for another officer for an opening, I guess. That's way to say that. For a while now. We did 2 hiring processes back to back, and we have a list of 3 candidates. So, those names in alphabetical order are Scott Hutman, Tony Hoover, and Tina Lairman Meter. The civil service chairman has not signed this yet. He's out of town when we had our final testing date. So he will sign that person in the morning, but that's the civil service list that I need to have approved.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Hilheimer.
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Mormon.
Yes.
Secondly, we are taking applications for our Citizens Police Academy. We made a few changes this year. We moved it back in the year just a little bit, based on some of the comments we've had from previous classes and people that wanted to sign up for previous classes. We also moved the date from Thursday. We normally did it to Wednesday. Again, this is based on comments of people that were unable to attend on Wednesday or Thursday. So we're taking those apps now. And lastly, on Wednesday, there's a statewide tornado drill that the whole Boone County will be participating in at 10 a.m. So if you hear the sirens, well, that's what's good.
Your citizens gonna be from 6 to 9 like you?
Yes, the time is the same. We just moved it to a Wednesday and moved it back a little bit further in the year.
This coming Wednesday.
I'm sorry?
This coming Wednesday.
No, we're taking apps at the end of the month. And then I think the very first class will be April 6th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, City Administrator Bill.
Thank you, sir. I have several items here. First one is the 20-day agreement with the school in regards to the early education center out there, the road that's going in out there. This has been vetted by legal, as well as staff. This is livable for staff and its impact, I'm sure you've all seen it. I'll take any questions that you have. As you know, our commitment to this project is $750,000. And I'll discuss that funding here shortly on how we're going to do it, but we're good with this 28E and we recommend approval of the 28E so they can proceed forward.
Second. Call the roll.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Mormon.
Yes.
Hilheimer.
Yes.
Okay, second is how we're gonna fund the $750,000. Andre and I have been working on this. What we feel comfortable doing and recommending to the council, if you will approve it, is using reserves for the $750,000. There are 5 budgets that we can use reserves for. The general fund, the LOST, road use, water, and sewer. We would split it out evenly at $150,000. We believe there's balances in there enough to sustain taking $150,000 out of each. In addition, we really didn't want to bond for just $750,000 and pay all the expenses, or if we could get, we're not paying any interest on a bond as well for that project. So that is our recommendation. It's a prudent one, and it makes the most sense for city planning. I'll answer any questions you have. If not, if you just give us a motion to approve payment of $750,000 to reserves for general fund, LOSD, road use, water, and sewer. So moved.
Second. Call the roll.
Gray,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Mormon.
Yes.
Hilheimer.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
My next item is EMC Insurance Renewal. It's time to renew the liability insurance and the workman's comp through EMC. Last year's premium was $454,420. The new premium, which takes effect April 1st, is $477,505. That's an increase of $23,085, and I'll go through some things here to explain the increase in some of the things that the insurance has paid out to the city of Boone over the last few years. When you're looking at evaluating the property that the city owns, there was a 7% increase to the premium for specifically that, to make sure that we were fully covered. The city has $2 million in underlying coverage and a total of $9 million umbrella policy for the city. We have $1 million in cybersecurity coverage. We're paying some additional funds this year for that, but I don't think we can not have that amount of coverage. I've talked with Hans, I think we're both comfortable with 1 million is the size of the city we have. And those of you who don't know, Hans Bain is in the audience tonight. Questions, but I'll continue with my report. So the amount of commercial property that we're insured for is $67,548,452. We insure a total of 73 vehicles. This year, the upcoming year, workman comp claims were lower, so we had a savings of $24,659 in that premium for the coming year. In addition, because of council's decision to go with US Water, we have 5 less employees that either retired or went with US Water. That saves us $8,700 additional on top of the 24 for workman's comp. That would not have an effect. EMC paid out, for the current year, they have paid out $130,656. The last premium year, they paid out $324,772. And the year before that, they paid out $113,993. So the last 3 years, they paid out a total over $500,000 to the city for claims. And obviously, deratios in there, both deratios are in there with that, and then other things that have happened. At the April 4th council meeting, there'll be a resolution in the consent agenda for approval for council to approve the payment to EMC over $100,000. I'll take any questions you may have, or if you have any for Hans. If not, I'll move on. My next one is, it's a resolution authorizing the execution of an amendment to the BJF Boone Family LP Option Purchase Agreement. If you remember at the last council meeting, we approved the development agreement for the project at 22nd Lynn for the construction of 40 units. The reason we're already having an amendment here is because the developer is still waiting for a report from HUD so that they can continue with their project. And their concerns were that they would not get that in time to honor the agreement to close on the property. So this is basically just an extension on the closing of that property. It's been vetted by legal. They're all good with it. So I would recommend, and answer any questions, otherwise I'd recommend that you approve that resolution.
So,
Call roll.
Bird.
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Mormon.
Yes.
Hilheimer.
Yes.
Williamson. Yes. Gray.
Yes.
Couple other things. So as we move forward from the wellness center vote, we have 620 Story Street. I've asked JR to get some quotes or bids to see that. Is that what this, the elected officials would like us to do at this point?
At this point, I have to bring it to.
Okay, so we'll proceed with that, and we'll probably just go ahead and do it in, and I'll probably, we'll just pay for that as that motion. A reminder of the luncheon this Thursday at 12 p.m. with Economic Development Director and Iowa Finance Authority Director Debbie Durham. She's going to be here for a program. starts at noon. I have, confirmed, Councilman Steins, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Williams, Councilors Mormon, and Councilmember Ray attending that. And there will be 3 staff there as well, Chief Legal, Andre and myself. So just a reminder, that's this Thursday. Yeah, we'll have it not recorded. Correct. The last item is we need to take a new council picture. We've kind of been remiss in not getting that taken care of by now. So when would the elected officials like to have those pictures taken so we can change that picture downstairs in the hall?
Nicole, you wanna take it tonight?
No, we usually do it before a meeting. Yeah, so you want to do it, you want to do it at the April 4th council meeting? Or the April 18th?
Please send a reminder.
Yeah.
And it'd be like half hour before, that or
Oh,
10 minutes,
no,
5
10
minutes.
minutes, 10 minutes. Andre takes the picture pretty fast.
Either way, fun me.
How about today?
What's that? You want to do it before? You mentioned after, we do it before, after, whatever, you like.
I've done both.
Yeah, I can do that.
If you get here early, I'll do it before, and then anything that comes late, I can do after.
So we'll do individual and then a group.
At least for those that want the individual, I know Linda has submitted her on, so that she wants hers redone, but I think I hope I wanted. So, thanks so much for. And then, of course, anybody that wants an updated one.
All right, we'll do it before. That's all.
Number 6, consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda you'd like the room to discuss separately? Not any motion to approve.
Move to approve.
So, call the roll.
McGinn,
Yes.
Steins,
Yes.
Mormon,
Yes.
Hilheimer,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Okay, number 7, we have, no ordinances this evening. Number 8, I have no comments. Number 9, any council member comments?
I just had a quick comment to thank the public works for coming. I saw them flooded potholes already today. And tis the season, but I really appreciate them doing that. Getting right on that.
I have I guess an idea or a question about 628 Story Street. And do we need to put that on the agenda for the next meeting? My question is, what's next? I mean, you know, really talking about some of the options on you know, I think we've all probably heard comments from people on why they feel the bond didn't go through, why that wasn't the right spot, for just a variety of reasons. And I think it'd be valuable to have a conversation on what are our ideas, where are we headed? You know, are we thinking we'll try that again? We're gonna redo, and I mean, I think we have to have a conversation on, because we've got the space, it's gonna sit there, and yes, it'll be seated, but what's next? And I think we need that conversation of what are some ideas? What can we do with that space? What makes sense? What would,
We can have a.
you know, the city owns it, what do we
I
do?
mean, if you want my opinion, I do not want to take it back to the vote. I don't think it would pass. I think the only way we bring it back is if we can figure out how to pay for it.
And I think that's some of the discussion,
And
is any
otherwise,
ideas?
otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, we plant a tree right in the middle of it, all good. Because right now, I mean, I'm just tired of the beat down we took, and, you know, unless you can pay for it, you're still gonna have the same people that attacked it and went after it.
Right, so do we look at more retail there? Do we, I mean, I think that's the whole conversation that we
We're gonna fix the
explore.
parking, no, because, you know, that's. I think, yeah, I think the discussion is good to have. I think it's really how council might want to market it. And I was trying to be smart earlier about it, but I feel like after this, and then that's why I was asking if he spoke with the downtown people, because I felt like we were supposed to check with them before we do anything. And, well, in my opinion, we don't have to. We can do what we want with it. We own it. And if we're gonna bring it back, let's figure out a way to pay for this thing. Let's figure out a way to just get it paid for, build the thing, and then we'll go from there. That's my
If
opinion.
you're talking wellness center,
Right,
yeah,
Yeah.
we need that big building.
yeah. And, no, I agree, but if we're gonna talk business, that's what we should put it on the agenda, bring your ideas and we'll talk about it.
Right, and that's one, let's, do we try it all again?
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah.
You can put it under councilman's comments or just put it in mine.
Put it in line.
Yeah, sure. This was on the agenda,
Put it on there.
sounds good.
And, yeah, we'll go from there. Good idea, we'll talk about it. Any other council comments?
That's a good job, staff, had a good audit report.
Yeah. Austin, you have something?
Yeah, no, I-
Public comment, you got a public comment.
Because I have not had a chance to do this, I'd like to thank the fire chief, police chief, and Bill Scare for all the years I was on the civil service board.
Yes.
He gave me a really nice award, probably the nicest award I've ever received. And thank you very much. It was a great opportunity. We all became lifelong friends. And that's just, we saw things we've never seen before and probably won't ever see again. Right, guys?
Thank you for serving us so hard.
Thank you very much. I
Did a great
really
job.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Austin. Any other public comments for items not on the agenda? None? None? Hey, this